back here on the Cover 3 podcast. And while we've got, you can jump into the portal again in the spring window. If you have not committed, you're still available in the portal. Spring practice is set to begin pretty much across the country over the course of the next 5 to 6 weeks. So we do have a decent idea of what these transfer portal classes are looking like. So, we've got some classes that, according to the rankings, are some of the best in the country. Interesting how the rankings, are put together. So for Ole Miss, I want to ask you, Bud, first, do you think this is quality or quantity? Did Lane Kiffin address his needs or just get the highest rated players? What goes into this Rebels class right now?
So I think this Rebels class is really pretty damn nice. Like Ole Miss is pushing the chips to the center of the table here with their spend on this class. I mean, you're getting a lot of guys who are like proven good or maybe proven really good players. I mean, like getting Princely from Florida, that guy can play, man. Like he can rush the passer. He's a versatile dude. I know he's not the biggest guy, but that's sort of what we liked out of NIL. Like a guy who's not going to be a top draft pick, but like a really good college player who you can get for that extra year. Getting Walter Nolan is a really big deal as well. Like Walter Nolan, if he can stay healthy, has true game wrecker type ability. I mean, getting Daquan Wright from Va-Tech, I don't think that one hurts. Like getting Antoine Wells from USC, that's a wild card. 2 years ago, he was awesome, and then kind of got dinged. But I mean, dude, like this is a legitimate class. Diego Pounds from UNC, by the way. I mean, Chip, you watched him a lot, but there are not that many really good offensive linemen in the portal, and Pounds can play. Like I don't know if he's a first round pick, but like size, experience, we generally kind of know. It's, all right, we've seen you play 1,000 career snaps more. You got the size. Like there are legitimate pass rushers in the ACC. It's a league, because of where it is in the country, produces those type of bodies that you have to block, and we've seen him do that. I'm very impressed with what Ole Miss has done.
Do you think, Danny, if you were Oregon, are you excited about being able to take two quarterbacks out of the same portal class? How confident are you feeling in the Ducks? Oregon has a top 5 portal class, but the headline of this has got to be the fact that you're taking your experienced quarterback in Dylan Gabriel and then your high ceiling quarterback in Dante Moore.
Yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled. You got your short-term and your long-term answer. And you also have somebody where if Dylan Gabriel, because I think he's gonna be very similar to Bo Nix, but quick decision making, very accurate. I think he'll challenge Bo Nix's 77, 78%. But you also have Dante Moore, who could push if it's a little too conservative, and if I'm saying in year one that Dante Moore could challenge him to even play. But if he doesn't, if Dylan Gabriel, is in the Heisman Trophy running and tears it up, then you're still good and you got your future set up as well. I mean, I was shocked at this move that Dante Moore followed him there because it came after Dylan Gabriel was already committed. But I also think it's Dante Moore maybe realizing where he was. Maybe it was a learning curve. Let me just catch my breath a little bit, and then I'll be set up for a really nice run. So I think it's a phenomenal haul for the Ducks.
I put out a video on Cover 3 Social, which another guy who got laid off, Andy Magadow, made for us. So that sucks too. But it was so I put out a video about like who's the best quarterback in college football this year. Because last year we had some names that we really knew, like Caleb and Drake May were no doubt top half of the first round type guys if they had anything in 23 that approximated what they did in 22. This year, I've got nobody who's guaranteed top half of the first round. So there's a lot of questions out there. And I didn't put Dylan Gabriel in it, and Oregon fans jump me. Like I didn't put Dylan Gabriel in there because I know he's not the best quarterback in college football. Because physically, I've seen this guy throw like 2,000 passes. Okay, I know he doesn't have that level of arm, and yet I still love the fit. Okay, he's playing a 6th year of college football because he doesn't have legitimate NFL talent, and he can make $1 million or probably a little more at Oregon in what might be the most money he'll ever make to play football. Right? That's a pretty cool use of NIL, but they just had a guy who doesn't have an amazing arm in Bo Nix, and Gabriel's a little more limited than he is, I think. But they know how to utilize that in that offense. And adding Evan Stewart in there as a pass catcher, they force feed their studs at Oregon in a way they don't at Texas A&M. So I would expect him to have a big like catch volume thing, and I think Gabriel can get him the ball.
Is there a chance Dante Moore wins the job?
Yeah. I don't know if he wins the job, because I do think Dillon Gabriel, the expectation is very much he's coming in there. He's going to be the starter, because this is a team that's going into a new conference. And as I've mentioned a billion times, of the new Pac-12 teams in the Big Ten, Oregon is the one that is best positioned to compete right away. Like, Oregon could be the second best team in the Big Ten next year. Might be the best. You don't know. So unless Dante Moore has the most amazing spring and summer and fall camp, I really don't see him winning that starting job. But Gabriel has been hurt before. Gabriel has been banged up. You are one injury away from needing Dante Moore in there. So that's why another reason why I think both for the present and the future, Oregon landing both of these guys was huge.
Tom, what were some of the, on the good side, what were some teams or programs that stood out to you in terms of either the what they did for answering needs, or at least the star power that were brought in?
I got to go with Ohio State. Like,
oh yeah, the juggernauts.
I mean, this is one thing, but I got a bone to pick here. All right.
Yeah,
with the way you guys do the transfer rankings. Okay.
Oh, I don't want any credit for how the team transfer rankings are calculated. I want zero credit for that.
Because I understand, like, the idea, especially when you're recruiting high school, the quantity and quality, because the more players you get, the better, the more swings you take, the better chance you have of hitting a home run. I have no idea how an Ohio State recruiting class that includes Caleb Downs, Quinshon Judkins, Will Howard, and a bunch of other guys, and Julian Sayin, or is it Sayin or Science? Sayin. Okay. How that class is ranked 8th behind like Louisville and Colorado, who just, added 50,000 players. So it's like, when it comes to transfers, when you have known quantities, I don't think the quantity of how many like 3-star guys you have should outweigh the fact that, Ohio State has 3 no doubt top starters. You know what I mean? So
yes,
whoever's in charge of doing that, maybe we should reconsider the way we win.
They are the only team that has multiple 5-star transfer prospects. They only have 7 commits.
How the hell?
2 of them are 5-star transfer prospects. 3 of them are 4-star transfer prospects.
No offense to any of those 3 stars in Louisville's class, but Louisville's transfer class is not better than Ohio State's. But again, going back to the actual question, I think you have to start with Ohio State, because this is a program that has, identified what it needs to do. And it has pushed all of its chips into the middle of the table. And getting Caleb Downs is huge. Getting Judkins to kind of split the carries with Trevion Henderson and give yourself a bit of a change of pace, because Trevion Henderson has had trouble staying healthy every single game of the season. And you're bringing Chip Kelly in. And I'm on the record. I don't know that Will Howard is a better quarterback than Kyle McCord, but in Chip Kelly's offense, Will Howard is a much better offense than Kyle McCord. So now that Chip Kelly's come in, I'm a whole lot more optimistic about what this team is going to look like compared to the direction they were clearly already trying to go on offense. And I just think that when you look at, Seth McLaughlin, obviously we know about his, snap issues from the playoff and at Alabama and the problems he had all year. But if they move him to guard, I think that's huge. And even if he plays center,
just fixes it.
Yeah,
just fix it.
There's some chance that him getting away from Milroe fixes it. I'll leave it at that. I think a new quarterback experience for him could make a world of difference.
He needs better alignment.
Yes. Like standing directly behind the center could help.
Helps. Yes. Instead of also a yard to the left.
Consistently giving the ready signal before you clap, or being willing to use a silent count on the road consistently.
Nick Sheridan, figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm with Tom on the Ohio State, because when you said the classes, who's, top classes, my first thought was Ohio State with what they've done. And I didn't look up I didn't look at any of the rankings. I just said first team that came to mind was Ohio State. Now, Ole Miss, I do think was a close second because of the moves they've made as well. And it feels like they're going all in. And I completely agree 100% that Chip Kelly is an upgrade for what they want to do on offense. He is going to be dangerous with those weapons that he's got. Will Howard can run too. he can make some plays with his legs, much more so than Kyle McCord would have.
Mhm.
So I think they're seeing upgrades at a lot of positions. I think they'll be at the top of my list for the Big Ten.
So, first of all, there's only 7 guys in the class. So there's really nobody else for me to hit. Downs is just such an unbelievable addition for Ohio State. To the portal rankings, I completely agree. I do my own, and I do it from the perspective of, would a team competing for the college ball playoff, like an average college ball playoff competitor, so like Louisville's probably not, okay? Colorado's definitely not. South Carolina is not. Like those are teams in the top 10. Like, would a team, would Oregon, would a Florida State, would Ohio State, would a Texas, would a Georgia, like, would they take this player? And I do my own personal ones, because if you look at it, and this is just a really tough math problem to solve, because you're trying to compare things that are just really disparate. You have 7 commits here, and you have 26 in Louisville's class. Where do we draw the cutoff line? Do we say, hey, only your top 10 commits matter? Your top 12, your top 8? So, and if we say top 12, is Ohio State getting essentially 5 zeros in their class? Because I agree. If Colorado or Louisville's kids, who I'm just using them because they're both top 5, top 6, would Georgia, would Florida State take any of those players they took this year? Probably not. Maybe 1, maybe 2. Florida State and Georgia are different quality rosters. So let's use Ohio State and Georgia. They would tell those guys to kick rocks. Okay. So it's really a volume versus quality question. And we see ranking disparities like this in the recruiting ranking side in like the month of June, because some classes will fill up and have 20 guys, and some will still have like 6. And the algorithm gets a little wonky at that time of the year. Now, as everybody kind of fills out to a more similar number, we're much more able to judge classes of 25 versus 19. 7 versus 26, it's like, I don't know what to do with this. So, yeah, I would essentially just rank the transfer portal top down only on 4 and 5 stars. I don't give a damn about 3-star transfers in terms of impact.
Next, it's just roster filler. And like Caleb Downs compared to some 3-star offensive tackle or offensive guard, it's just
right.
Caleb Downs should be worth about 15 times more in that rating than anybody like a 3-star.
Yeah, can we go above 100? I get like when we are talking about one of the like most talented transfers in transfer portal era, can he be like a 110? I think that would make it more accurate. I like the per player rating. I'll stick up for using ye old 24/7 sports rankings, because that can be very informative, where as you know, you might guess based on our discussions here, Ohio State at 94 on the per player rating is the top per player rating in the country. That is, you know, a tick above certainly those teams around it, Colorado and Louisville. Let me throw one out here, another bang for your buck squad. I thought that the specificity of Texas's transfer portal class was really smart, because you go get Isaiah Bond from Alabama, wide receiver. You get Silas Bolden, proven wide receiver from Oregon State. You get multiple other pass catchers, and that's after we had just watched all of the pass catchers leave. So Steve Sarkisian's looking at this team that went to the college football playoff. He's got them loaded up along the lines of scrimmage. He's been recruiting well, recruiting with the SEC in mind. What are we missing? We're missing pass catchers. So we're just going to take all of the transfer portal resources that we want to have, and we're going to go and we're going to get pass catchers in the portal. Matthew Golden, another one of those as well. I felt like Texas was a good example, to your point, Bud, of these are guys that anyone in the country probably would have taken on their roster because of the value that they add. I thought that Texas was a big winner in the transfer portal. They did lose like a dozen guys or so, but not guys that I was counting on to be primary contributors for the most part.
Totally. Yeah, I think Texas is a major winner. Like they're loading up. Texas win total on FanDuel is like 9.5, 10.5.
Woo-hoo-hoo!
That's a little rich for my blood, but I understand it.
That means he's going to Michigan to win. Isn't that game in Ann Arbor?
Yeah. Is that second highest in the SEC? Has to be, right?
I think it's the same as Georgia. I think Georgia's was the same. I want to say
they just probably juiced it over and juiced it under. Oklahoma's a 7.5.
Yeah.
I also
Yeah.
really like the Trey Moore pickup because
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't think Trey Moore is going to have the kind of numbers at Texas going against SEC offensive tackles that he had going against CUSA and AAC guys, but I still think talent wise and ability wise, he's a very good depth piece as far as a pass rusher on that team, which you can never have enough of.
Makuba too from Clemson, great defensive
Mhm.
back. He's a part of that group. It was a very strong class. Before we get to some of the groups that have lost, we have referenced this transfer portal class. So I mean, Bud, I gotta ask,
Do you believe?
what are the highlights from the Colorado Buffs? As for the second offseason in a row, they have gone heavy with the transfer portal in terms of players they have taken in. It is not the 50-some that they took last year, but we are dealing with a transfer portal class that is in excess of 20, currently at 24/7 Sports right now with 24 commits in the class, 7 of those as 4-star transfer commits in terms of the number 4 stars in a class that is 4th in the country behind Florida State, Texas A&M, and Ole Miss. What are the places where you look at the Buffs class and you see somebody who's going to be very important in their first year in the Big 12?
So if you look at it, they did get some guys who I think some other teams wanted or showed interest in. Preston Hodge at Liberty was a really nice DB for Liberty. I had heard that Oregon had some interest, and then that Oregon ended up passing. Maybe wasn't quite as big as listed, but that's still a guy I think is going to immediately help Colorado. Like they, why am I blanking on Shador's brother's name?
Shiloh.
Shiloh's a really good hitter, but they didn't have great coverage ability in the back end last year. Like you could tell they really had to keep those guys back to protect them. I think Hodge is a guy who can cover a little better than some of the dudes they've had. Quincy Wiggins is sort of a wild card that I would like to pull. He's built like a total freak, very athletic guy. I don't know why it didn't work out for him at LSU. I should probably ask around about that. But if he hits, Quincy Wiggins is the most talented player on that defense, other than Travis, obviously. So that's a nice one. They took multiple offensive linemen who at least have played some Power 5 to varying levels of success. And yet FanDuel's like, yeah, we're not impressed by this class. It's a bunch of filler again, and your win total is 5.5. So they're like not even thinking that Dion will make a bowl game. I think they can, though, because I think if they keep Shador healthy for 12 games, they're going to make a bowl. So it's a decent class. If I was ranking the class, I don't think I would have a top 15 because, again, most of your good Power 5 schools would tell these guys, thanks, but no thanks. But some of them are decent.